Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. Welcome to tonight's City Commission meeting. We will begin tonight's meeting with a prayer, and then we will honor our flags, and this evening Commissioner Paula will be offering the prayer. So if you would, stand with us.
Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you tonight to ask for peace in our community. I ask for safety for our first responders. I ask that you keep our Commissioner Garza in your prayers tonight as they are suffering the loss of his mother-in-law. And we ask you to be with those during this holiday season that are alone or are just in need of some extra care. In your name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Our meeting is called to order. Ms. Reyes, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Bryant? Commissioner Casals?
Here.
Commissioner Porter?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Here.
Commissioner Garza? Commissioner Rowley?
Here.
Commissioner Paula? Here. Mayor Morris?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Reyes. And we do extend our condolences to Commissioner Garza's family. And of course, he's not here this evening. Commissioner Bryant also not here, not joining by video either. Okay, all right, thank you. Next would be approval of the agenda, and Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, I'd like for you to consider, let's move reports up to right after proclamations and before receipts, if that's all right. Okay. And with that one change, is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve with that change. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. So we'll record a yes vote for all of the members on that, Ms. Reyes. Thank you. Next is approval of the minutes. The minutes from the Thursday, December 1st meeting are in your packet. If you've had a chance to review them and have changes or corrections that need to be brought up, please do so now. Otherwise, I'll assume your approval. Hearing and seeing no objections, we will adopt the minutes from the December 1st meeting and record a yes vote, please, Ms. Reyes. Next, we have recognition of visitors. We have visitors here with us this evening for some of the, or at least one presentation, but also a communication from the United Way. And to all of you, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest in what your city government is doing. We look forward to hearing from you. Proclamations, awards, and presentations. Presentation to Sergeant Antonio Bosque for 28 years of service. Very impressive. And to share with us and to make the presentation this evening, we have our Chief of Police, Chief Rice.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. It is with honor and a privilege for me standing here tonight because I'm probably one of the newest rank officers here that did not work with Tony. Sergeant Antonio Bosque has been here over 28 years with the police department. Served everything from quartermaster, police officer, narcotics investigator. And I'm not going to take much time because the group you see out here in the audience are wanting to roast him tonight. So I'm going to turn it over and I will let his captain take first. Captain Tejas. Thank you.
Sounds great. And, thank you, Chief.
Mr. Tejas. We don't ever speak behind your back.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving us an opportunity to come out and have a little bit of a discussion about Sergeant Bolsky. It's not hard to find something to talk about when it comes to Sergeant Bolsky. He has been a tremendous asset to our agency, and he's really been a tremendous benefit to the city of Clovis. Sergeant Bolsky started his career in service to the public prior to coming to the police department. He spent 9 years and 1 month in the United States Air Force, which is what brought him to Clovis, New Mexico. And when he got here, he fell in love with the community and decided that this is where he wanted to lay his roots and raise his family. So he found a love for public service. And with that love for public service, he joined the Curry County Posse, Sheriff's Posse, back in the 1991. And he stayed with the Curry County Posse until he was hired at the police department in 1994. And he's been with us ever since. Along with the 9 years and 1 month he spent in the Air Force, he spent another 12 years with the New Mexico National Guard while working for the police department. In fact, I remember we lost him for a year when he was deployed and had to go out and work at Cannon. And he never forgot his brothers and sisters at the police department, because while he was at Cannon, he was making deals and working out arrangements to get police officers out there for some specialized training. So he always kept us in mind even when he was gone. But more than that, as much as I want to roast Tony tonight, tonight's not the night to roast Tony, because tonight's about celebrating. It's about celebrating his accomplishments. It's about celebrating what he's done for the community, and about the fact that he championed for our children. Tony was specialized. He and I got to go down to Dallas to the Coalition Against Violence Against Children, and he became specialized. And he became specialized in investigating crimes against children. And he developed a network, some of you are aware, where he was very familiar in investigating and working with the people who were all involved in protecting our children. So it's quite the accomplishment, and it's quite the compliment. At the same time, it's a huge loss for us, because we're losing years of experience, and we're losing a great, great benefit to our community. So I want to tell you, I'm very, very proud to stand here and talk about how great a person Tony has been. At the same time, I'm very sad. I'm very sad at the loss that we're going to suffer at the organization. But the good news is he's been working on some people to replace him. Now, it's a little hard to replace his humor. That's going to be difficult, and I don't know that it'll ever happen. But his tenacity to go out and protect the citizens of Clovis, and his drive and his desire to do better for our community, I think he's done a pretty good job at bringing up some of these younger officers that we have and starting to mentor them. And again, I can't go on enough about how great it is, what he's done for us. The only thing I can say is thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for us, and thank you for your service to God, country, and community. So with that, I'm going to give Captain Romero an opportunity to come up and say a few words as well.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, City Management, Clovis, everyone here. Yes, we are. There's not much more to say. Let me push this up. That's a little better. Tony was here just a couple of years before I was, and he has seen the city grow. He has seen the department grow. He has seen it alter in good times and in bad times. He's been with us when we've had our great and easy years and our pretty rough ones. Losing someone after that amount of time, losing those personnel that have become kind of synonymous with the department, because that's a lifetime. As I compare it to the age of my average officer right now, it is actually technically their lifetime. To watch as we continued to grow as we went from having really dark, thick manes of hair to really silvery, thick manes of hair to at least having hair. You got to win on that one. And where Captain Tejas thanked everybody, and that's awesome, but I want to thank her, and even though her mama's not here to point at, for sharing your dad with us for so long. Now, can't just walk away without saying something roasty, even though we're going to save that more for the going away lunch because that's when it needs to really happen. The only thing I will not miss about Tony Bosky is being in a SWAT and going in behind him because he didn't cover as much space as was necessary as we went through a door. But come on, Tony, say something. Tony's going to say something.
Sounds great. Thank you, Captain.
He made me carry the heavy shield. Mayor Pro Temp, Commissioners, City Manager. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity. It's been my honor and privilege to serve the city of Clovis, our people. It's been a huge honor to work with all my friends at the police department for all these years. I'm going to miss them greatly. I wish them the best. I wish them just safe and happy careers. But I'm just kind of grateful that way back in the day we didn't have a whole lot of videos. 'Cause you would have seen what a lot of the stuff they're talking about. There is one video of me acting a fool, but just one. But there's many other occasions. But I appreciate the city for helping me take care of my family all these years, and I appreciate all of you for all you've done. Thank you.
And with closing, yeah, he's going to be missed. I see a lot of my other guys that got shy, they got mic shyness. I can't believe that. They're used to talking on radios, people, but not up here. We're going to have our formal farewell for him December the 30th, 11:30, 11 o'clock at Liao's. 11:30 at Liao's. And you are invited to attend. And that way you can say your niceties or your memories or whatever at that time. That is the reason why there's no formal presentation from us tonight, because we're going to share it all for that one day and cut down time for y'all. All right.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Well, we
Guys?
appreciate we appreciate you coming this evening and talking about this man's body of service to our country and to the city of Clovis. And Sergeant, we are grateful. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause, everyone.
Thank y'all very much.
It's remarkable. 21 years of military service and 28 years of service in law enforcement to our city. That's incredible. What a great man. Glad that he has the opportunity to retire. Yeah. With that, we will let's go ahead and take care of reports, and we can begin with our monthly investment report. Our finance director, Ms. Melanson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. So November 30th, we started the month at 60.9 million, ending at 64.8 million. We had some large reimbursements on some grants come in. So our general fund cash, ending cash is 7.3 million. Solid waste fund 2, 3.1 million. Wastewater fund 10, 3 million. Economic development gross receipts fund 64, 4.5 million. Water, Fund 66, 5.3 million. Our capital projects, Fund 87, 2.6 million. And our American Rescue Plan, Fund 94, 9.4 million. We have 39.4 million in our local banks and 25.3 million in our state investment pool. Our interest for this month was $67,832 with it should be a 5-month total of $228,823. And I've got the state pool in yesterday, so we are currently receiving 3.5180%, up from the 2.8330. So at this time, we're happy to leave our money in the local government investment pool. And I just sent it to you all, hot off the press. We just got the gross receipts. We are up 10.7% over last year and 22% over this time 2 years ago. We're about 30% over budget and not quite 7% over our actual. And for our businesses, we had an additional 1,632 reporters this time. And as I mentioned in the email that I sent out, we had almost double from this time last year in construction. So we will watch that one very carefully and make sure that it isn't impacted by destination-based and somebody realizes they reported in the wrong area. So we are watching that one and happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you for that report. Any questions? Very well. Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, do you have reports to make? Okay, I have several. I'll go quickly and stand for any questions that you may have. The day after our last commission meeting, the Municipal League Board met. I represent District 4 on the Municipal League Board. And, at the meeting, there was a lot discussed. The focus, or at least the things that I took the most notes on, or made note of, was the legislative update that we listened to. And so the legislative update is both the resolutions, the bills that the league is lobbying for, is pushing for, but then also that lends itself to things to watch out for coming in the session. One that I think we should watch out for, and whether or not it's titled this exactly or not, but the Local Election Act. The state continues to think that that municipalities should allow the state to run their elections, and as you know, we run our own election and do that very well, thanks largely in part to Ms. Melanson. And in particular with our local elections, we have voter ID, which is something that as a home rule municipality attempting to maximize local control, we want to hang on to and not have to give away our elections to the state. So we want to watch that. There's a good chance there will be a reversion bill. A lot of times when we're talking about grant funding and appropriations from the state or capital outlay dollars, that discussion lends itself to, our state saying, well, there's a lot of money that's been appropriated but hasn't been spent. A lot of capital outlay that's been awarded but hasn't been spent. And so I've checked with the city manager. We're not in jeopardy should they run a reversion bill where they would, for example, go back 2 years ago and just wipe and bring back money that cities haven't used. We're not in any danger of that right now. Aviation funding, this is an interesting one. There will likely be a bill that would seek to fund everyone's ICIP requests pertaining to their airports. And so we do have some items on our ICIP. Fire department benefits, if you remember, House Bill 68 last year increased the death benefit for law enforcement officers up to $1 million. And but in doing so, they forgot about firefighters. I'd say that I don't mean to say that jokingly, but they omitted firefighters, and so there will be a bill in this next session that will catch the firefighters up to that same level. There's also talk of additional EMS funding. Incremental funding for metropolitan redevelopment areas is a bill that we might want to watch for, given that we have metropolitan redevelopment areas Also, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, City staff, you may want to make note that Municipal Day will be on February 16th, the League Municipal Day during the session. Secondly, I had a meeting, city manager, assistant city manager, and I met with the president and a vice president of retail strategies on, gosh, I forget the date. I want to say maybe it was the 5th, somewhere in there, but it was after our last meeting and after the report we had heard. And it was during that meeting that I was pretty candid about our expectations being pretty high for the last 9 or 10 months of the contract with retail strategies. I know Commissioner Casals, you would appreciate that. That resulted in some follow-up, and so we have a follow-up meeting with the president of the company tomorrow to continue those discussions. On 12/9, I attended the United States Air Force Special Operations Command change of command at Hurlburt Field, Florida. General Slife, who's previously commander of AFSOC, relinquished command to General Bauernfeind. And Bauernfeind is a former wing commander at Cannon Air Force Base, and so that's pretty exciting. He's a guy that's familiar with Clovis. And Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners and residents of Clovis, I was able to extend our gratitude and our thanks to General Slife, as well as congratulate and visit with General Bauernfeind and talk with them about how much we appreciate and support Cannon. And so I was proud to be able to represent you there. I appreciate you allowing me that opportunity. Next, on the 12th, this is something that I'll be sharing more with you about, but this is something that's kind of been in the works. But I'm working on a youth job fair or a youth or young adult hiring event in Clovis, and the vision for this, or my vision for this, is not only connecting youth in our community with job opportunities that could exist maybe within the city organization, but also with businesses in town. And so we're looking to get youth engaged in employment and having that benefit them immediately, as well as the local businesses. But really the long game on that is, helping youth in our community have a vision for what their career and educational path will look like, and having them catch that vision sooner. And the ultimate goal would be the strengthening of the local workforce for our economy. This is a collaboration among the city, Workforce Connection, CMS, EPCOG, Chambers, CED, Clovis Community College, local industry, and local businesses, and probably others that I'm leaving out. We have a follow-up meeting, or the next meeting for that is next week. On 12/13, I met with the state delegation, or at least a few of them. I met with Senator Engel, Representative Zamora, and newly elected Representative Reeb to discuss the city's legislative priorities and officially make our capital outlay requests of them. Today, prior to this meeting, the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority Board met, and for everyone that's not familiar, the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority is the entity that is constructing the Ute Pipeline project, a surface water conveyance system that is going to bring surface water from Quay County to supplement our drinking water needs here in the Clovis area, as well as Texaco, Portales, and Elida, and Cannon Air Force Base. We are making progress with this project like never before. Just today, on today's agenda, 6 more easement agreements were approved. The professional services contracts with both our federal and state consultants were approved. And then an interesting, or a very good update from our project development update from Jacobs, the engineering firm. They put it like this: there's 130 miles of pipeline with the entire system that will eventually be in place. 35 miles of it is either under construction or complete at this point, leaving 95 miles that is currently in design or is either being designed or mapped, or geotech or easement acquisition is underway. And so very excited about that. Also today, we discussed the ask of the state legislature in the upcoming session, which is going to be $10 million. Last year, the legislature did 10, but then we also wound up with another 20 from capital outlay. Senator Heinrich at the federal level is actively working on this. We got a report today about a communication he's had with the Bureau and so on. And so wanted to share that update. Lastly, wanted to hit on the issue that I know many are concerned about, and that is the abortion issue, and wanted to just speak to that a little. The abortion issue was I cast the tie-breaking vote to keep it on the table at the last meeting, and I had to do so in order to keep it alive, keep it on the table, and keep it where we could access it and use it should circumstances change. And I'm reiterating what I've said for the last month or so, and that is that we are actively the activity that I'm taking on and that others are taking on is to work on developing the long-term solutions for our community, which would address our public health and safety concerns, as well as the concerns on the part of the majority of our community with this issue in general. And because we know that state legislation is imminent, and so it's a shifting legal landscape, I'm working to affect, as to the greatest extent possible, affect the outcome of legislation, and of course tracking that very closely. And that involves frequent communication, just very frequent, almost daily communication with lawmakers on this issue, as well as other contacts within the state. And those communications involve my expression of our concerns, our desires, as well as them sharing with me some of their ideas and some of their strategies, which they are working and which they are executing on. And so, and some of them are very good ideas. And so that is where we're at with that. That is on the table. I think that there was definitely a mischaracterization on the part of many when I broke the tie last meeting that I had voted the ordinance down. I did not. I voted down the untabling of the ordinance. And so we are effectively in the same place we were. And again, as I say, applying effort in the two ways, developing policy and lobbying and tracking the imminent legislation. I'll stop there. That's not the full extent of my activity or board service or any of those kinds of things, but any questions for me, Mayor Pro Tem or Commissioners?
No, very good report, Mayor.
Thank you, appreciate that. Then we will move on then. And that'll have us in receipts of petitions and communications, where we do have a planned communication this evening. It is a communication regarding the United Way campaign with Aaron Birch and others. I see Mr. Masters is here. We welcome our friends from United Way of Eastern New Mexico.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. We really appreciate the chance to speak before you today. I'm Aaron Birch. I'm the Executive Director for United Way of Eastern New Mexico, and happy to get a chance to step up here and talk a bit about our United Way community-wide campaign. This is our effort to reach out to our community and garner support for all the activities that we do and the ways we invest people's donations back into our community. Every time you hear United Way, what we're doing, it's only because people are generous in our communities and care enough to donate to support what's going on. So I will try not to give you the whole spiel, but I am gonna kind of cover some ground about United Way. So United Way of Eastern New Mexico, we cover Curry, Roosevelt, and Quay counties, and something I think that most people or a lot of people are unaware of is that every United Way is a standalone, separate, nonprofit organization. So we are located here in Clovis. We have board members from Curry, Roosevelt, and Quay, and we exist to bring support from our local community and put it back to work here. And so when you give, it stays here. So at United Way of Eastern New Mexico, the 3 ways that donor giving makes a difference are through our grants to local organizations, which we're funding 13 organizations right now, and these range from Meals on Wheels, which provides hot meals to elderly and disabled people who are homebound, all the way to Girl Scouts and Youth Success, providing empowerment for our young people, to focused on stopping domestic violence, child abuse, through support of Hartley House, et cetera. So, so these organizations, they cover a broad range of causes, because at United Way, we don't feel that we're just trying to solve one issue in our community. We want to meet families where they are and raise them up and make it possible that they have access to services all the time that they need. So that's our grants to our local organizations. And then the second way that donors make a difference to United Way through the campaign is to our direct services, which are 211, our volunteer center, and our Game Changers funds. And so 211 is an information referral hotline. When you dial just those 3 numbers, 211, it rings at our United Way. And we direct over 2,000 callers a year to the resources that they need. So whether they're looking for, help with food, or help with services for an elderly parent, or youth services, substance abuse services, we can direct them to nonprofits, churches, government services, you name it, across our communities that they can access. Then our volunteer center, volunteerenim.org. This is a free service, again, that we offer our community. We have over 1,200 local people receiving volunteer notifications on there, and over 90 organizations who can use that to, reach out and put their volunteer needs in front of our community, getting more support and more good work done in our community. And then another direct service of United Way that's funded through donors is our Game Changer and Winter Warmth Fund. And we use those funds to help people directly. We fight homelessness by keeping people from stopping their eviction, stopping power shut off. We help folks afford birth certificates and driver's license, which, if without those, can be a barriers to jobs, barriers to housing. So those are just some examples. So far this year, in addition to donor funds, we also got some grants in that area, and we helped over 500 families stop eviction and power shutoff this year alone. So that's been very powerful. And then finally, at United Way, donors are supporting our initiatives and programs under Youth Success, like our Reality Check Day, like our Dolly Parton Imagination Library work in Roosevelt County, Ready 4K, which is a parent engagement and support for that's targeted at the developmental age of the child. And then finally, our No Worries Wall, where we have installed we've installed 22 No Worries Walls, which are at middle schools and high schools, and allow kids, teens, to just walk up and, without a question and without any oversight, pick up deodorant, pick up some soap, get a new toothbrush. Sometimes our families struggle to have those things available, and our teenagers don't need one more thing making it hard to show up to school and feel their very best. So those are projects at United Way. You got some information there with a little more, and I'm always happy to answer questions about that. Now I want to shift gears really quick. So one project that you've heard us talk about the last 3 years is our Youth Success Initiative. And this work is all about making more community support possible for our kids to achieve what they need to be successful adults and be prospering part of our community. So during COVID, we've learned about and adopted the strategy of the 100% community in our youth success work. And so you've got a report here. This year, we took a lot of time to get enough responses. We had over 1,000 people in Curry and Roosevelt respond to our survey. And this survey asked them to tell us if they had needed services in the last 12 months, and if they needed certain services, did they have any trouble accessing them? So this report in your hands is really all about the identifying barriers that families found when they needed to be served. And so if you flip to the first two pages, you've got Curry and Roosevelt, and the percentages there tell the story of the folks who took the survey who said yes. For example, the first one's medical care. So in Curry County, there's 52%. They said, yes, we sought medical care, and 52% of those who sought medical care had trouble accessing medical care. So these percentages are all about folks who found barriers when they sought the services. So this is really good data that we can start to use to break down and identify and then create solutions for eliminating barriers for families. The other pages, for every one of those services that we say are critical to creating a prosperous community and supportive families, those are medical care, behavioral health care, food, housing, transportation, parental supports, youth mentoring, early childhood learning, community schools, and job training. So Mayor Morris, we're really interested in your job fair that you're putting on and would love to be part of that. There's a page on each one of those services and a breakdown of the specific barriers that those respondents said they had when they sought those services. So this is the first step, identifying barriers, and then we are putting together action teams around each one of these service areas. And so we ask you and ask our community to step up and be part of these action teams so that we can improve our community in the long term and strengthen families and across our area. And now I'm going to let Rick Masters have just a minute. He's been part of Youth Success for the past 3 years, and is, of course, the Chief of Staff for the Wing Commander at Cannon Air Force Base.
Thank you, Ms. Birch. Welcome, Mr. Masters.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Wanted to kind of take off from where Aaron just talked. So we spent most of the last year trying really hard to collect all of the data and put it together, and we think we've got a good sampling of data now. So we are ready to transition into the action team phase of the 100% community plan. And the good news is I think as we make that transition, we are not starting from zero. A lot of the issues that we identify in the data, we already have been working for quite some time: housing, transportation, access to medical care. The efforts we're doing with the inpatient, outpatient mental health and behavioral health facility here in Clovis is going to roll into this effort as well. The committees we have jointly between Cannon and Clovis and Portales on housing and access to medical care, I think we can take the work we've done in those committees over the last year or so and work them into these new action teams. And I've talked with both Clovis Chamber and Portales Chamber, and they're absolutely excited about that. I do have one ask in particular for the city and the commission here, and that is one of my roles, or my role with this is I'm co-chair of the executive steering committee that oversees the work of the 10 action groups. And I think as they get in and they do their work, we're going to find a lot of areas where we're going to rely on partnership with local government. So I would like for the city to formally appoint a member of city government to our steering committee that will have the broad oversight over our specific action teams.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you for
Mr.
your time.
Masters.
And thank you again for giving me some time to talk about United Way tonight. And I want to say thank you to the City of Clovis. Your employees participate in the United Way campaign and give. And many of you are donors and supporters of United Way. Go ahead and give again this year. We really look forward to your support. We're doing a nice, strong campaign so far. Better than COVID. So the truth just is that there is so much good work to be done, and it has to be supported financially to make traction. And so please join all of what we're doing and donate. And if you ever have any questions, please let me know. And please share 211 with the folks in your life so that we can connect people to resources faster and help our families bounce back from what's going on in their lives faster. And then thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for all that United Way does in our community. We appreciate that. Yep. I wanted to recognize that we have representatives from Hartley House here this evening. Ms. Donna Horton is the executive director, as well as Ms. Janice Jones. I believe she's the president of the board. Yep. And Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, as you know, we have an item in the consent agenda pertaining to Hartley House and the city of Clovis, potentially with your approval acting as the fiscal agent for the Hartley House for any capital outlay funding that they receive in this next session. I just wanted to say good evening to you ladies, and I'd give you the opportunity to say something if you like during public comment. You're okay? No. I want, we would be happy to, I don't believe there are any questions, I don't believe there's any questions on the item this evening. I just wanted to recognize you. Thank you, Ms. Horton. So we are still in petitions of communication, so we'll move into the portion of this section when we will hear from anyone who has something to share before this commission this evening. And we'll give you 3 minutes to do so. Is there any? Here we. Need your name and address for the record, even though I know you. And
yes, sir. Thank
your
you.
Clock starts, and the floor is yours.
Oh man, yeah, I gotta. My name is Warren Golick. I gave my address at the previous place, at the previous time. I just want to talk to you tonight, Mayor. It's going to sound a little forthcoming, but it's all in good spirit. So here we go. You should just follow in the footsteps of your constituents, meaning they did what we want to eventually do, and I know you got the heart and character for it. I know you do, and the untabling of this deal is a big deal. Not only for what it centers around, but man, what you're going to be facing later. You're going to be the tiebreaker man for a lot of other stuff coming up, a lot of other stuff, and that other stuff's going to have to be dealt with within your time frame of being mayor. So after you get done with your whole stint of being mayor, don't look back and have no regrets. Zero. This deal is going to be a big deal for later, for what you're going to do later. You're going to be the tiebreaker in many of things, man. You got an example laid out before you. You got a lot of power in your lap, man. A lot of power sitting in that middle chair. And a lot of us here in Clovis voted for you, and I know you got the backbone to do this, man. Not only because of other factors, but just from personal experience with you, man. You spent 45 minutes in a parking lot talking to me, man, before you had a meeting in a Java loft with higher up people than me. So, man, I know you got the backbone to do this. So, following the footsteps of Hob and Carlsbad, let's get this thing started, man, because I know you got the heart and character to do it. And that's how you change laws. We don't change laws by protest and throwing rocks through windows and all that crap. We do it right here, and it's in that middle chair. So get it done, Mayor. I appreciate you.
Name and address, please.
Yes, so Logan Brown, and I live in Portales. And I just wanted to address you guys. You guys know why I'm here for the abortion ordinance that's tabled. I wanted to start out and say I've had many individual good, productive conversations with many of you through the time that we've been trying to get this ordinance passed. I think that a lot has come out in those private conversations. I do think a lot of your hearts are in the right place. I want to personally thank the commissioners that voted, the ones that are here and the ones that are not here, to untable the ordinance. I want to personally thank you from the community, from the pro-life community, from the community that voted you in your seats. Thank you for representing us. Thank you for representing the unborn in your community. Thank you. I've sent you all an email regarding a recent article that was published in the Albuquerque Journal, and I hope you read it. It's very detailed. It was published yesterday. It was from the state level, all the things that the legislation plans to do regarding the issue of abortion. From that article, and I quote, "Also on the table," she said, "is a proposal to prohibit public entities from interfering with or denying the reproductive rights of people in New Mexico." So this argument that we're going to be able to negotiate with legislation, I'm thankful, Mayor, that you work with the state. I'm thankful that you guys are calling us to work with the state. Many of us have worked with the state on this issue, and many of us were involved in those committee meetings, and the state doesn't listen to us. You guys weren't elected to represent the state. You were elected to represent our community, our town, our home. And so I'm calling on you to do that. I'm calling on you to represent us, not the state agenda, not the Republican Party. I'm calling on you to represent us. Untable this ordinance, pass it. We know where the mayor stands. Not the mayor. We know where the governor stands. We know where the governor stands on this issue. When the Hobbs ordinance passed, she, and I quote, and this has been quoted many times, verbatim, she says, this is our mayor, I'm so sorry, this is our governor. She said, "Reproductive health care is legal and protective in every corner of our state." That includes Clovis. "Providers delivering health care have every right to establish a practice, and all women have the right to access medication and abortion services no matter where in New Mexico they call home." So we know where she stands. We know where the state legislators stand. And I'm part of some committees that are actually organizing at the state level to do something about it. But it's not negotiate with them. There's no negotiating with the state. And I think you guys all know that. Thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. Eric Welsh, 1204 Broadway. And so I want to try to do things a little differently. You know, I've had some people reach out to me recently about seeing what we can do to maybe repair some of the division that's going on in our community about this. And I regret the fact that that we are so divided and that it has gotten as ugly as it has. I mean, you know, I don't need to explain that to you guys. I'm sure that you've seen it. And I'd like to confess, first and foremost, that my heart has not always been in the right place in this deal. I have allowed anger to dictate some of the things that I say. So I plan to be a little more measured and bring up some of the things that I think would help to resolve the conflict that's going on in our city. First and foremost, would one of you be willing to sit down and have a conversation, you know, where some questions could be answered? The first question that I have is why has this been dealt with so inconsistently, right? Because when we first brought the ordinance, it was this weak document that was legal suicide and fiscally, it was like fiscal suicide. This thing was going to cost all this and all this. It was this horrible idea brought in by an outsider. And now it's on the table, and I respect your decision on that. I don't agree with it at all, but now we have this thing that's locked and loaded, ready to go if we ever need it. That's not what people do with something that's ineffective and going to bring you financial ruin and is a horrible thing. It's there to be used. So why won't we use it? It's like having like a relationship and not putting it on Facebook, right? Like we're not going to go for like Facebook, you know, we're not going to let anybody know this. We're closet pro-life people. That's how I see it. We want to be pro-life on the inside, but we don't want that to be like a statement that we make on the outside. And the rub in this city where all the friction is the fact that I believe that you guys have good intentions when you say we want to negotiate. I believe that. I really do. But that is where the problem is with me. This is not negotiable. And if we're negotiating and we're seeing what they're going to allow us to regulate, that is a cuss word to me, to be able to regulate abortion in our own city. I fear, because of the one-sidedness on our state level and where we're at, if they're going to allow us to regulate anything, it's going to be whether or not the doors close at 5 or 6 p.m. in our own city. And I believe that if they were going to allow us to regulate something, it might be, we'll let you decide whether they're open or closed on the Lord's Day. Because they're not viewing this as a negotiable issue, and neither should we. We can stand with God and we can do what's right. Untable and pass, please. Thank you.
Farrell DeVore, 624 Providence Circle. I'm going to watch my decorum tonight and would like to visit with you. We do appreciate you letting us have the opportunity to speak. And I'd like to take this issue of the ordinance being untabled. I'd ask that you untable it immediately. I spoke to Steve Pierce, the head of the Republican Party of the state of New Mexico. He said there's nothing this governor or the legislature will do to stop the issue of abortion coming to our city, eastern New Mexico, or our state. As a matter of fact, she's rolling out the red carpet for them. He feels like waiting on the roundhouse to get anything done is a waste of time. And time is what we don't have a lot of. You told us, Mayor, that you were working months before our citywide meeting at Ryan Denton's church back in August. So that would put it June or July. I spoke to you and one of your constituents today and talked to him at length, trying to understand what's going on and why it's taken so long. And my understanding is that you, sir, are locked and loaded and ready to do something on this ordinance. Not only you, but your commissioners, every one of you, is exactly what I was told by one of your constituents. It's taken far too long to move this forward. The city of Hobbs and Clovis received the ordinance the very same day, the same hour. They passed it with a Democrat mayor. We could do the same. We need to get this done quickly. It's time to act. It's time to pass this ordinance and quit playing politics. We've waited far too long. The horse is at the track. The gate's open. They're down the home stretch. And Mr. Mayor, you hadn't got out of the gate. 7 months we've waited. 7 months. It's time to quit waiting, and it's time to get this thing untabled and move forward. Our capitulation, our waiting, our putting off, looking for excuses for this, for this, for this, for this, that's the reason it causes anger. That's the reason it causes resentment, because things aren't being done in a timely manner. If it was anything else, if it was raises for this person or raises for that committee or raises for this one, it'd be done overnight. It's time we fought for the unborn. There was a man that came up here fighting for chickens in his backyard, came up crippled, 2 canes, came up here fighting for that. He had a lot of tenacity. Commissioners, I'm asking that you have the same tenacity. Untable this. Let's take care of the unborn. Thank you very much for your time.
Hosted from 2308 Bob White Court. Thank y'all for allowing us to come and to speak. It's gracious of you to do that. I do want to say I am for life. I can't imagine what it must be like. I sent all of you emails, and I know some of you said y'all do look at the emails and you check them out. One of the emails I sent you had doctors in there that showed what the abortions was like when they go in there and they tear a baby apart piece by piece and pull them out and then go in and crush the little skull so they can take it out. I know that when they have the full-term abortions, which I know our governor is for, whenever they do that, when the baby's head is in the birth canal, they will destroy its little brain right there before the delivery. It's sick what they do. And I don't know how to make you understand how that feels within me, but it's just unbelievable that we wouldn't do something to protect these children from this. But we have another issue in town too, And I want to talk about it because it has to do with life also. I had a young lady go out to the hospital so she could get detoxed, so she could get into drug rehab. What happened to our detox center here? Where did it go to? Because it hasn't been just a little while back that there was a man that was overdosed, and he went through that, and we was able to get him into rehab the next day. And I don't know if there's something that can be done through this city for these that are going through this and being overdosed with the drugs that's on our streets, but it's expensive to get these people into rehab. If we can't get the drugs off the streets, is there something that the city can do to help us? Because it's another life issue, and it's an issue that's tearing up family as well as the abortion issue is. Is there any way that we can become concerned about life and truly uphold these people and bring them to where they can have life? I do thank y'all for allowing me to come and speak, but I would like for y'all to give that some consideration if you would. I'd like for you to contact me and tell me where the answers are at. I know it's expensive getting them in to rehab. I think 6 is what we've been able to send this year so far, and it's expensive. But if the drugs can't get off the street, that's another point of life that I'd like for us to protect. Thank you.
Anyone else while we're in this public comment period? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, to the consent agenda, which, as you know, is placed on the agenda so that we can, or so that you can deal with many things with one motion. There are 10 items. The first is the motion to place. The 10th is the motion to approve or acknowledge. I'll read out 2 through 9. Item 2 is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3172-2022, approving and accepting appropriation number 22ZG 1016-8 with the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration in the amount of $1,443,750. Item 3, request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3174-2022, DFA budget changes. Item 4 is request for approval of memorandum of agreement between the City of Portales, City of Clovis, Village of Fort Sumner, County of Roosevelt, County of Curry, County of DeBaca, and County of Quay for an inpatient, outpatient psychiatric hospital in Clovis. Item 5, request for approval for Bohannon Houston Incorporated to perform design, bidding, and construction engineering services for Phase 2B of the Affluent Reuse Project at the cost of $247,555.63, including GRT. Item 6, request for approval for the City of Clovis to act as the fiscal agent for the Hartley House for capital outlay funding received during the 2023 legislative session. Item 7, request for approval of cooperative project agreement with NMDOT for control number 2104790 for transportation alternative sidewalk construction on Main Street between Grand and 2nd Streets. Item 8, request for approval of budget change in the amount of $16,501.98 from Fund 60 Capital Outlay GRT to account ending in 110 for EPX pending order change number 2 to add a new main gas yard line to the Hillcrest Life Senior Center. Item 9, request for approval to renew the lease agreement on city-owned land adjacent to Cannon Air Force Base with Ernie Wright. That's your consent agenda. Unless there's any objections, I'd take a motion to place. We have a motion to place the indicated items on the consent agenda from Commissioner Casals.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Jones. Commissioners, please vote. And we needed a unanimous vote. We got one, and the motion is carried. Now I would take a motion to approve or acknowledge all the items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
motion to approve all items from Commissioner Paula, second from Commissioner Jones. Please vote. Which one of you is going slow?
I don't think it's taking.
Oh.
We still have the last one up.
I'll try it.
Ms. Reyes, could we get a roll call on that so we can move on, please?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Casals,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Paula.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes. The vote is unanimous. The motion is carried and the consent agenda has been approved. Next, we'll move on to introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances, where we have one item this evening, and it is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3173-2022, supporting the Strategic Highway Network. Mr. Howalt, can you tell us about this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. The District 2 NMDOT engineer, Francisco Sanchez, reached out to me asking us to pass this resolution supporting adding a portion of US 60 as well as New Mexico 467 and County Road Q to the StrayNet highway system. The Strategic Highway Network system is a system of highways with the purpose of linking important military installations and seaports and airports. US 6070 84 so basically to the east of Prince Street is already designated as a StrayNet highway. What this can potentially do is bring in additional funding sources to make improvements to those roadways, since they do have that particular designation. As part of that designation process, they need to reach out to the local communities asking for support by us, showing that we are in favor of this proposal. So this resolution this evening, should you pass it, would do that, and then we will get that over to the district so that they can continue forward with that application process. Then I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Howalt. I think it's exciting to think about having a highway of that quality. Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, what questions do you have? Discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion for approval.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Jones.
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant. It's been properly moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 3173-2022, supporting the Strategic Highway Network. Please vote. And we have a unanimous vote. The motion is carried. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mr. Howalt. Nothing under unfinished business, but we have one item under new business this evening, a subject that I find particularly exciting. I don't know about the rest of you. Just kidding. It is request for approval to bind property and liability insurance with travelers for the calendar year 2023, and Mr. Jones is going to advise.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, I am so glad that you find it exciting. This is a months-long process. The application process is, and every time I answer a question for the insurance companies, they send 3 more back. So it's been quite the undertaking again. And I'm really hoping Mr. Kevin Shannon is online to go over what you're looking at here.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great if he is. It's Mr. Shannon.
Mr. Shannon.
Mr. Shannon,
Kevin?
are you on with us?
I am, thank you.
Yay.
Hey, thanks for being on. We'll, you've provided a lot of relief to Mr. Jones that you've joined, and we'll be providing an explanation. We'll give you the floor, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Yeah, as Mr. Jones stated, Mr. Howalt, and I have been going through the insurance renewal process. And, you know, I won't go too deep into it because, Mayor, I believe you and I are the only ones who find this fascinating. But we are experiencing or anticipating about a 6% increase in the insurance cost for the city. Now, this is actually down 1 percentage point from what we presented to Mr. Jones and Mr. Howalt about a month ago. but we just got new figures in, so it's a little bit lower. And this is actually lower than the industry standard, which is right now we're seeing about 8 to 10% increases in insurance from last year. I don't know if there's any questions from any commissioners regarding specific coverages or increases, but I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that anyone may have.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mr. Shannon. Do we have any specific questions? No, I believe the commissioners have reviewed the packet and don't seem to have any questions right now. Mr. Jones, would you like to, do you have anything else to add, or?
Yeah, I move that we approve this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would entertain a motion for approval, or if discussion isn't necessary, please. I was able to join and pay attention to most of an online meeting between Mr. Shannon, perhaps others at his company, Mr. Howalt, Mr. Jones, and Ms. Melanson. And so I was able to ask some of the questions that I have, and I joke when I say I find it, I'm being sarcastic. I don't find it interesting either, but no, just enough to be dangerous. And I did ask some questions, and there were some parts that I looked at pretty hard, and I think that given the landscape with state policy and how it leaves a city exposed to liability, I think we're actually fortunate to have travelers offering to stay on the risk with us. So I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion for approval.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Okay, and did you have something to say?
No, I was going to
Just-
say,
okay.
appreciate all your hard work in getting us to this point.
Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't do any hard work. That was all of them. Motion for approval from Commissioner Jones, second from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant. Unless there's any further debate or discussion, and I'm not hearing or seeing any, please vote. And the vote is unanimous, 6-0. The motion is carried. Mr. Shannon, thank you for joining and providing explanation and being ready to answer questions. Mr. Jones, thank you for your work on this, as well as you, Ms. Melanson, and Mr. Howalt, thanks. We already took care of reports. So if I can find my second page, there we go. So that has us on to future agenda items. Mr. Howalt or Ms. Burrows, do you have future agenda items to mention?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. The items that we currently have are the task order for the Main Street sidewalks between Grand and 2nd Street, the Hillcrest Senior Life Center kitchen cooler freezer request, library board vacancies, El Jimador liquor license application, and the Parks Recreation and Beautification Committee vacancy.
Very good, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem or Commissioners, do you have agenda items to bring up?
I just have a question. For the sidewalks on Main Street, have all the trees been removed that?
Up to the
that
point
were
where
in
we have replaced the sidewalks, and so this particular project will go from Grand to 2nd Street, and so when we reconstruct those sidewalks, those trees will be removed as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Very good. We will announce upcoming meetings and scheduling. Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Committee will meet at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, December 19th here. City Hall will be closed on Friday, December 23rd, and Monday, December 26th for the holiday. City Hall will be closed also on Monday, January 2nd, observing New Year's. Civil Aviation plans to meet at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd. We'll start the year out in meetings, it looks like, so that's great. And then our next City Commission meeting will be all the way in next year at 5:15 p.m. on Thursday, January 5th, right here in this room. And anything else for the good of the order?
Just wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
That's all I was going to do. That's all I had left to say. Merry Christmas
Merry
to
Christmas,
all
everyone.
of you and your families. Hope you have a blessed one. We're adjourned.
Saturday, not too bad.
And then you're on the 27th, right? The day, so you're doing, right? The day after. The day after the, after, okay.
Merry Christmas.
Made his way down, I think, somewhere.
It was down on the end.
To do
There
the-
it is, right there. Yep. Are you?
Norris and
Yes.
Grant.
He's in the reserves where you were